assistance during the call, please press star then 0. I'd now like to turn the conference over to your host, Ed Christopher. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, hi. My name is Ed Christopher, and as the operator Talari said, we're doing a webinar today on DataFerrett, a Census Bureau product, and we'll also present some tips and tricks for our American FactFinder too. I may have made a mistake in one of my opening slides where I said to get the operator press star 1. She just said star 0, so we know star 0 works. Anyway, I've got a couple of slides at the front end here I want to just go through, tell you a little bit about what the webinar is going to be about, give you a little background. But one of the things that I want to bring up right out of the box is, and this came out last week, we've got a final date from the Census Bureau in when the legacy system of FactFinder, that's the FactFinder that we've all grown up with, will be going away. And the date is June 20th. So mark your calendars. If you're madly in love with the old FactFinder, you better use it now because it will go away. Just some things to know. I haven't used things called deep links, but I know others have, where you can actually link back to queries and searches that you've done. The deep links to the old system won't work. There is information on the Census Bureau website on how to set up new deep links in the new FactFinder, FactFinder 2. And there's some other products that won't be on and transferred over to the new FactFinder. We call it FactFinder 2. And probably the single most biggest one that we're concerned with here in a lot of our work would be the 1990 census data. However, that is in DataFerrett, and that's what we'll present to you today, is how to pull it off of DataFerrett and work with it. If you're not too familiar with the new FactFinder, you feel a little bit uncomfortable with it, we did do a webinar on October 11th, and it's recorded, and I've got the link here for you. And during this webinar, I will upload these slides for you. I don't believe I put them in a download pod so that you can have them, have this link, and not have to write down the...
Ed, can you go back to that slide?
Yeah.
This slide says January 20th, and you said June.
Oh, January 20th.
Okay, it's January.
Yeah. Thanks, Elaine. I should be reading my own slides. That's speaking off the top of my head. Anyway, in today's webinar, we're going to go over DataFerrett and some tips on FactFinder 2. We've set out some goals, and really what we want to do is expose you to the newest version of DataFerrett. We'll walk you through some examples. We'll show you some resources to work with it. We're hoping that you'll leave with a deep understanding of DataFerrett and how to use it. Your team today is myself, Ed Christopher. I'm with Federal Highway Resource Center, and Elaine Murakami from the Federal Highway Office of Planning organized the event, and she's sitting live on the phone, and we'll chime in with some technical support and help guide us when, of course, I misspeak dates. Elaine, can you say hello real quick?
Hi, everybody.
So we get to know what your voice sounds like. Then behind the scenes and in our chat area, we'll use that for all the questions and answers. And during the presentation, the things on the screen, the little boxes, are going to get bigger and smaller, and the chat area will become certainly bigger. But behind the scenes, we have Liang Long. She'll be answering and handling the chat pod and watching some of the technical, dealing with some of the technical questions. Liang, can you say hello?
Hi, everyone.
Hi. And then finally, we have our instructor, Michelle Giles. She's with the Census Bureau. You'll hear a lot of Michelle. Michelle, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, you have a glass of water ready?
Oh yeah, I got my big pitcher.
Okay, good. A couple of things in using the webinar. These little boxes that you see all over the screen, we call them pods. So we'll refer to things and say, okay, the chat pod, the poll pods. So don't get confused when we use, terminology that might be new to you. This is where I say, we certainly want to handle discussion and entertain your questions, and you can bounce in anytime you want and ask a question. We welcome the interactivity. Press star 0.
Actually, sir, it's actually *1 if you do have a question for the audience.
Oh, excellent. Then I got it correct on my slide. So it is *1 to remember. Or you could type it into chat pod. Sometimes we get overwhelmed in the chat pod, though, so it does get kind of hard to keep up sometimes. If you're using voice over IP, that means you're listening through your computer speakers. And you have your phone on, put your phone on mute, although we do have all the phones muted. But if you buzz in with the operator, ask a question, and you're doing voice over IP with your phone, we will get some feedback. So be careful of that. And in terms of files to download, if you look over on the left-hand side, third pod from the top, it says things to download. Those are files that we put up. You can actually download them. You click on the file, click on Save to My Computer. The computer will come back and ask you and say, where do you want to save it? Now, note that when you're downloading a file, that sometimes the where do you want to save the file click box hides behind everything else you have open on your screen, so you may have to minimize things to get to that. Just a little bit of a warning there. In terms of the format today, we've got some introductory material. Then we're going to have a special contest quiz, and there are prizes. Elaine will be doing these contest quizzes along the way. Michelle will then go through some canned slides with DataFerrett slides that are in the things to download pod that you can take with you. And then we'll do another quiz. Then we'll have Michelle share her computer and do a live demonstration, and hopefully that'll be interactive where folks can say, get this variable, go after that, let's try to answer this question, that question, whatnot. So we'll go through a live demo. And I want to mention in all of this, if you're, for example, my slides might look real small on the screen because we have a lot of things open right now on the screen. You can always go to full screen at your own discretion. Just click on the, it's on the top right-hand side. There's a little bar there that says full screen. You can click on it. And we're doing when Michelle is sharing her screen, you might want to go to full screen so that you can maximize the effect of seeing what's going on. Then we're going to go through some FactFinder canned slides, another FactFinder demo, and then we'll do a wrap-up. So as Elaine noted, we've got pretty much a full schedule today. We've got a lot of things happening, so I guess we'll say it's on with the show. Oh, you ready?
I'm ready.
On your mark? Go for it.
I just want to say congratulations, Kevin. You can use that card well out there. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Giles. I am on the ACS coordination staff here at the Census Bureau. One of the things I'm responsible for is doing trainings like this on the data products. As Ed and Elaine both said, we have a lot to cover today, a whole lot. Sometimes, often one of these things would take the whole time, and we're trying to jam two pretty packed things in. So what I want to say is everything I talked about today, all the links, all of the access points, all of that is in the notes section of the slides. So if you do miss something or you're not sure about how I did something, we can talk about it some during the live portion, but also know that it is in the slides. So don't be discouraged if I go fast, because I do have to go fast to get through it all. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to access the 5-year data for the American Community Survey. Specifically, I'm going to show you how to access block group data using the summary file. I'm also going to show you how to access the PUMS using DataFerrett. It's a lot easier, I think, to use those files, so I want to make sure everybody kind of understands and is comfortable with it. We're also going to talk a little bit about applying statistical testing. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. The slides have more information, and we have lots of documentation here at the Bureau about how to do it. But I just want to basically show you a few things about it, and then also where to access the information. And then later on, I'm going to show you a bit about AFF. So we'll just go ahead and get started with the DataFerrett. So block group data is available from the ACS summary file. It's not available on American FactFinder. So for those of you who are used to using decennial census data, been able to get block group data from AFF, that's not the way it works with ACS. Now you get it from the summary file. The summary file is a concatenated file of all the detailed tables produced for the 5-year products. They're the same tables that are in AFF, but they're in a different format, which makes downloading and manipulation easier. Also something to note is that not all of the detailed tables are in the 5-year products, but every subject with 5-year data is in the summary file. So DataFerrett is a web-based application. It was created by the Bureau for users to retrieve large sets of data across numerous geographies from various surveys. So it's not just ACS data that's in here. Census data, economic survey data, lots of data is in DataFerrett. And it's through DataFerrett that you access the summary file. In order to get to DataFerrett, what you want to do is go to the main Census Bureau page, and then in the left-hand column it says like Data Tools. You click on that, you go to the DataFerrett link, which is this one right here with the blue arrow. You're going to click on that. It's going to take you to another page, and then you hit Go Get Data, and there you are at DataFerrett. So it takes a couple of clicks, but it's pretty easy to get to. Now there are 2 versions of DataFerrett available to the public. The DataFerrett top one, which is what we're going to use today, that's the most stable. Beta DataFerrett, which is that other link, is where Census Bureau staff program and test the most recent updates. So they're always kind of tinkering, and they're always trying to make it faster, make it more user-friendly. But sometimes there are little bits of bugs that will be in beta DataFerrett. So we recommend that you use the regular DataFerrett. And the link to get to this page directly is in the notes section of the slide. Okay. Once you click on that DataFerrett link, you'll be asked to enter an email address. The reason is that if you do like a big query, they'll send it to you through email so you can retrieve it. So they don't use it for any kind of marketing or anything crazy like that. It's all just to help you get to your data. So on this page, you'll see that there are lots of tutorials, examples, user guides. There's a lot of information on here. So if you're really new to Ferret, this is a great place to start. I often go here myself. If I am unsure about something or if I have a question about doing something, this is the page I go to get the information. At the top of the page, you'll see that there are two tabs. There's a Step 1, Select Data Sets and Variables, and then a Step 2, Databasket Download Make a Table. This is where we're actually going to start moving through and getting our summary file information. The first step is Step 1. So all you do is click on Get Started on Retrieving the Data, which is selecting that Step 1. And this is where it takes you. So step by step, this is what we're going to do. You'll see there are a bunch of folders on the left-hand side of the screen that contain data for the different Bureau surveys. We're interested in the first folder. It's American Community Survey. And then what you do is you press the plus sign to open the folders underneath. You just keep pressing those plus signs until you get to what you want. So we want to open the American Community Survey folder. We want to open the Summarized Data folder. So Summarized Data, Summary File, that's how the naming convention works. And then we want to open the 2006 through 2010 folder. And finally, the 5-year summary file folder. And you just keep hitting the plus sign until you get all the tables to display, which is what we're going to see on the next screen. Okay, is everybody with me so far? Hopefully. So when you're doing anything with either the 1, the 3, or the 5-year summary file, these are the exact same kinds of steps you'll go through. So once we get to this screen, you'll see a full list of all the detailed tables. This is very similar to what you'd see on American FactFinder. We want to scroll down to the B08 tables. These are the transportation tables. So we scroll down, and I'm going to select table B08301. It's kind of my example table to walk us through. This is the basic means of transportation table. And then when you click on that with your mouse, a pop-up window opens, and it has these kind of 2 options, description and view variables. What we want to do is select view variables. And then what this is going to do is open up in the main window all of the lines for that table. This is what we see. From here, you can select what lines you want from the table, so depending on what you're interested in. That's one of the nice features about Ferret. If you need just a few lines from a table, you can retrieve those as opposed to the entire table. So I'm going to select just a few lines. For our example, it's going to be the total and the major transportation categories. So as you see, I went through, I clicked them, I highlighted them. You can use your mouse and just scroll down and highlight all of them. You can use the Control or the Shift button to highlight a section or a series. But I highlighted the main categories. And then once I have those highlighted, I select the Browse, Select Highlighted Variables, which is just this button right here. Then it opens up another window. And from this screen, what I say is I do the checkbox to select all variables. So what it's doing is it's treating each line of the tables that we selected as a variable. Since I've selected a subset, I know that I want all of them, so I just select all. We'll see that this operates differently when we get to the PUMS file. But when you're using the summary file, you want to do the select all variables. And then we want to select OK over on the side. And then you'll see a pop-up screen that comes in the middle that tells you how many variables or how many lines you selected. At this point, the system is going to prompt you to select a geography. You'll see that there's a red X in the required data variables box, or required variables box. What you want to do is double-click on that line, needs to be selected, and it says for topic selectable geographies. And this is going to take you to the geography selection screen. So from here, this is where you select your geographies. The screen is divided into two sides. The left side is where you make your selections, and the right side acts as like a geography basket. So once you've selected something, it's moved over to the right-hand side. So whenever the right screen is gray, that means you need to make a selection from the left-hand side. The reason that's important is that there's a lot of clicking and hitting next and next and next when you're doing the geography selections. It's not that there's anything wrong, there's just kind of some repetitions that happen. Just know that if your right side of your screen has something in it, just keep hitting next until it goes gray. That's kind of the tip. So if the screen on the right is white and has something in it, you just keep selecting next. So we want to make our initial summary selection. And there are a lot of geographies to choose from. I'm interested in block groups, so I'm going to scroll down until I find them. So I'm not sure if you can see where the box is here. What's inside, it says census tract and census block group. It looks like some of the shading kind of got put in, so it might be a little hard to see. But it does say census tract and census block group. And then what I want to do is highlight the summary level census block group and then hit the next button. And then on the next screen is the geographic hierarchy. And then you choose from here how narrow do you want your search results to be. So the selection method is broken down to where you'll need to select the summary level that the block groups are nested in. There's tracts, counties, and states to choose from. So I want a particular block group in a particular tract. So I'm going to select tract, then I'm going to select the county, then I'm going to select the state. Another option you have is to select all of the block groups within a particular county. And if that was the case, you would select county and then next. But I'm looking for a small set of geographies. But basically, this is how you narrow down your search results. So we're going to go through and just keep hitting next until all of our items get transferred over to the right-hand side. So I've gone through and I've selected tract and I've selected county, then I got the state. Now the next screen is going to ask us, well, what state is it that I'm interested in for my block group information? You can select one, all, or just a subset of states. You select from the left-hand screen, and the right screen shows you your selections. I'm in DC, so I selected DC as the example, and I hit next. And then DC is moved to the right in your geography basket. Then you're going to just keep hitting next several times until you get to the next opportunity to make a selection from the left-hand side. And then you do the same thing for your other geographies, counties, and tracts, and then blocks. So I've gone through all those steps behind the scenes. And now I'm at my block group selection screen. So I highlight the block groups that I want for the tract that I selected. I hit next, and then those tracts or those block groups move to the right of the screen to show that it's been selected. And now the finish button, I hit next, and now the finish button will show up as being available. So before now, you couldn't actually hit finish because you hadn't selected your geography of interest. So we do that. And now you'll see that that red X that was there has turned into a check mark. So we've selected our geography successfully. So we have our data lines in our geography. Now we're going to start putting the two together to get our data. And at this point is where we click the tab at the top that says Step 2. So when we do that, this is the screen we go to. You see that all of the lines from the table are in the middle along with our geography. You have options on the right-hand side of the screen where you can modify or delete variables or lines. So let's say you picked a bunch of lines for a table and you decided, oh, I don't really need that line after all. This is where you can do that before you get into the actual data manipulation. So there is an opportunity to kind of do some takebacks. Now, if you want the margins of error for your estimates, you'll need to select download. So that's the little monkey sitting on the books. Or I'm sorry, not the monkey. It's the ferret sitting on the books. You have to select download. You can have the margins of error included with the estimates or in a separate file. They run in batch mode, and then the instructions are emailed to you, and that's why you want to give your email at the beginning. Just that the margins of error can be kind of complicated, so if you want them with the tables, especially most people are retrieving a huge amount of tables or for a huge amount of geographies, and so it makes the files too big if you include both the margins of error and the estimates in the actual Ferret application. Now we're just going to go ahead and make a table. So you just hit that button where there's the Ferret that's in the behind the little Excel sheet. Okay, so on the right side of the screen is where, it's probably a little fuzzy to you, sorry, but it's where we see all the table lines we wanted. The geo-component variable is there, as well as our block group variable is there. And you'll see that the table is set up as rows and columns, so it's very similar to how Excel works. So what you want to do in order to get the variables or the data lines or the table lines in your geographies from the right hand into the spreadsheet is you basically drag and drop. So you hold down the, you click on the right hand side and then hold your left mouse button down and then drag that information over to the spreadsheet. I have the transportation categories across the top and the geographies down the side. For me, it makes a table easier to read, but you can put them wherever you want. Also, an option you have is to change the names of the lines for readability. So, the category is actually car, truck, or van. List your mode of transportation. I just changed that to drove because it made it just made the labels a little bit easier for me to use, and it also made it easier for me to see in the file. So that's all. Now always leave this column 1, row 1 cell empty. If you try to put something in there, it won't accept it, but it can be just frustrating. Just don't ever just don't ever click anything into there. Now sometimes you'll take something, you'll drag it over and you'll pop it into the wrong spot, or you'll overlay, or something will go wrong. That's okay. If you do make a mistake, there is this button up here. It's a little spreadsheet button, the green and with the yellow star. If you click on that, it keeps all of your variables on the right-hand side, but it'll just clear out your spreadsheet. Now once you have all your tables and your lines where you want dropped in the cell, you select the Go Get Data, big green button at the top, and then the cells populate with the weighted estimates. Remember, this is already summarized data. It's basically the regular base tables, just in a different format. So it's already been weighted. Now you can do computations within DataFerrett, or you can copy and paste these results into Excel and perform calculations there. I prefer Excel just because I'm more comfortable with Excel, but DataFerrett is actually very powerful. And in the tutorials, you'll see quite a bit in there about how to do some of the different computations. I was going to go ahead and move on to talking about PUMS and accessing that in DataFerrett, unless anybody has any kind of quick questions. Okay, then I will move on to PUMS. So PUMS is a sample of cases from the ACS, and it has individual record data for housing units and some group quarters. The 1-year PUMS is a 1% sample of the U.S. population, and the 5-year is a 5% sample. PUMS is available for users to design their own tabulations and to aggregate the responses in a way that fit their statistical, policy, or research needs. And PUMS is available in DataFerrett. The lowest geographic unit for PUMS is the Public Use Microdata Area, or the PUMA. It's 100,000 people, and it's redefined every census in cooperation with the states. So every state defines their own PUMA areas, and that's redone every 10 years. So getting to the PUMS data in Ferret is very similar to getting to the block group data. The biggest difference involves identifying geography. So we follow those same steps getting to the DataFerrett variable selection screen as we did for the block group data. You know, we go under American Community Survey. I ended up just selecting the 3-year because the 5-year for PUMS wasn't available yet when I made the slides up. It's actually not going to be out, I think, until next month. So I went ahead and selected the most current multi-year file, which is the 3-year 2008 through 10. But again, I just go through and hit those plus signs until I get the files I want. Then I click on it, and then I have the View Variables option. Now from here, I want to get transportation. There are a couple. You have to select a topic, so it doesn't go right to the variables, because again, there are so many variables that you want to kind of narrow it down a little bit. So what we want are the transportation data for PUMAs. So we're going to select the check boxes that are next to selectable geographies and population, because the transportation data is primarily in the population file. So you want to click those, and then we want to select Search for Variables. So this is the PUMS variable list. You don't have to select a predefined table like in the summary file. You actually select real individual variables from the file. For PUMS, you do need to select your person weight. That's just something that, because it's not pre-tabulated data, you can look at weighted or unweighted. So we want to select the person weight to get the most accurate information. And you also want to select your geography, like any other variables. And they're at the very top of the list. So the person weight variable and the geographic items variable, those are the two big ones that you select no matter what variables you're looking at. All the commuting variables begin with the letter J, as in jam. So there's time of arrival at work, time of departure for work, travel time to work, vehicle occupancy, as well as means of transportation. I'm going to highlight all of those, and then once you do that, you press, just like we did when we were looking at the summary file, Browse Select Highlighted Variables. Our next screen, very similar to what we saw before. You want to select your geography, your particular geography. The lowest level is PUMA, but you can also select state level, region, or division. So this is identical for what we did for block group. Once we hit our select our public use microdata area or our PUMA, we want to select next. We want to select our state, which I did on just a different screen. I selected DC again, and then I keep hitting next until I get to sort of the end. I select all my PUMAs, select next so that they get transferred into that right screen, and then I select finish, and then here I am. What it's going to ask you is, at this point, you've selected your geographies, then it's going to say, okay, you've selected all these variables. So the individual variables often have multiple categories. You may not want all of the categories associated with that variable. You may just want certain things. So what this screen is going to do is ask you to select the categories you want for what you selected. The variables are in the top box, and then the categories are below. You can select all categories for variables by checking the box next to select all variables. So this will select everything, all the variables and all the categories that you had previously highlighted. This is just like what we did for the summary file. If you only want certain categories, then select the particular variable in the top box and then uncheck the boxes next to the categories you don't want. And then we select OK. Basically telling it these are the things I want. These are the things I want you to retrieve. So there's a lot of manipulation that you can do to it to get the information that you want, that you specifically need. Okay, and we saw this before. This, again, the same screen. Now we can start to manipulate our variables and create our tables. We select the Step 2 databasket tab at the top, and this takes us to the manipulation area. Now, unlike the summary file data that's predefined, we can actually go in and manipulate or make malleable the variables that we've been looking at. Because it's microdata, it's individual unit records. So what I want to do is actually look at the travel time to work variable, and I actually want to recode that because it's a continuous variable of minutes 1 to 200. I don't want to look at each of those minutes individually. I want to look at them in meaningful groupings. So I'm going to hit the Recode button. Now, travel time, like I said, is a continuous variable, and with the default range being so wide, I don't necessarily want to look at that. So this is the screen as it initially looked. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that 200 that's in the high range value with a 60. So I'm going to turn it from a continuous 1 to 200 minutes. I'm going to start grouping it into hours for my own research and my own information. I'm going to turn that 200 into a 60. I'm going to hit Recode. And then what you'll see in the next screen is that the range changed. It's not 1 to 200 anymore. Now it's 61 through 200. So it's showing me the values that are left to recode. This way all the categories are exclusive from one another. And then once I've done that, the recode appears in my variable list box. What I can do is I can overwrite that label as well to make it something more meaningful to me. And I just keep making recodes until all the values are used. So here are all my recodes. Did it basically in blocks of half hours to hours. I've also given the recode a different name so that I can distinguish it from other variables. And now I select OK. That takes me to the screen we were on before. It's just our list of variables. And what you can see is that my recode has been added now. So the original variable, travel time to work, is still there. That still exists, but the recode is added to my list. So I can either use one or the other. And now I'm going to start manipulating my table. Click on that. Just like what we saw when we were looking at the summary file, the same kind of spreadsheet format. I'm going to put my geographies on the left-hand side, drag and drop. I'm going to have my variable, my recode, minutes to work across the top, always leaving that first cell and that first row box empty. Then I say, go get data, and my results are returned in the box. So something to know when you're using PUMS is that when you create a recode, the error term isn't recalculated for you. The Ferret staff are working on a method to have that happen automatically within Ferret, but it's not to the point yet where it can really be released to the public. They're still trying to work out some of the kinks. But let's say I hadn't used a variable that I had recoded. So we have the average travel time to work. It's JWMNP. If you use a non-recoded variable, then the standard error, when you put the variable into the spreadsheet, the standard error will actually show up next to your estimate. So it's not like the summary file where you had to download it separately. It will actually show up as long as it's not a recoded variable. And speaking of standard errors, I wanted to walk you through just a little bit about applying statistical testing. Data users often have very specific needs, and we do try to be responsive here at the Bureau to offer information for the broadest users. But sometimes the estimates we produce in our prepackaged tables aren't exactly what you want. Sometimes you want to combine estimates across several categories. You want to combine different geographies. You want to make percents, means, medians, ratios, and maybe we don't produce those in our pre-tabulated products. The thing to note is that when you make a new estimate from the existing microdata, you're going to need to generate new margins of error. User-created margins of error are approximations, and so you should be cautious using them when you're making statistical comparisons. We are working on various improvements to the methods and making sure that detailed information is available for people in order to create their own margins of error. But again, that is something that we're still trying to work out some of the kinks on. You should be cautious in the number of different estimates you're summing or subtracting because this can impact the accuracy of your margin of error. So something that has come up before is the unemployment table. The basic unemployment table, in order to calculate the percent unemployed, you have to do 24 separate calculations in order to, or you have to calculate the margins of error on 24 separate lines. It's a lot, and it can make your margin of error wildly different from what we would get internally. One of the things we've done to address that is that we've actually tried to make a very, very simplified unemployment table that will be coming out the next 2011 data year, which will be coming out in 2012. So one of the things is we're trying to be responsive, but we also want to make sure people are aware that when you start making your own margins of error, the fewer estimates that you're combining, the better. Now, we have tons and tons and tons of documentation on how to calculate margins of error. I'm not going to go into those specifically right now, but I want you to know that in the notes section of the slides, I have all of the links listed. You can copy those into any browser window, and it'll take you right to where all of the very detailed descriptions are, because people have different needs, and so I couldn't necessarily fit all of those in. I do want to talk just very basically kind of about the standard error. This is the basic formula for calculating the standard error and for calculating a new standard error when you sum estimates together. So that's just the example that I have here. I also have included in the notes translating this into Excel language. So in order to do the square root of the standard error squared and then summed, and then the square root of that, I actually have the Excel formula in the notes, so you can translate those together. So it's the square root of the standard error of the estimate squared plus any standard errors of the other estimate squared, so on. And in the detailed documentation, there's information on calculating standard errors for sums, differences, proportions, percents, means, ratios, products, and comparing estimates between two periods. So at this time,
okay, so now we're gonna
go to the live demo of DataFerrett.
Yep. Okay. So Alan wanted to see a crosstab of travel time by mode.
okay.
Is everybody seeing it? Ed?
We've got it, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to click on Ferret.
Now this is where folks might want to click on full screen, because some of the screens do get a little bit tiny when you're sharing.
Yeah. It's loading, so this is where I enter my email address. And go ahead and leave this public use data checkmarked because you don't have access to the internal microdata. So don't worry about that. We hit OK. Now, given the question that Alan had, which is travel time by mode, he wants to, I'm assuming he wants to look at the PUMS data. Also, all the chat boxes are closed on my screen, Ed, so if there are any questions or anything, can you just let me know?
Yeah, will do. Leon's watching it too.
Great, yeah, just in case I misunderstood Alan's question.
Sure.
So given that it's travel time by mode, what we want to use is the PUMS files. So I'm going to go to the first tab again, see all the plus signs. These are all the data sets that are available. Plus, I want to expand this a little bit. Let's see, the 5-year estimates or the public use microdata is not yet available. So I'm just going to go ahead and do our example of the 3-year again. But once the 5-year becomes available, it'll be in this box. It'll be the 6 through 10. That's the most recent year. So I'm going to do 3 years. We have our 2008 through 10.
So, do we know how much of a lag there is when a product gets released before it actually shows up in Ferret? Do you have any clue?
It'll be if it's a summary file, summary files come out the same time as the AFF products, and so it'll be the same day.
Okay.
So they're produced on a concurrent schedule for the summary file and AFF tables.
Okay.
For the PUMS files, those always are behind, at least by a month or more.
Right.
But when they're available through all the dissemination tools.
Excellent.
So they'll be available through Ferret as well as the some of the online, or not the online, but some of the extraction tools that are available from the ACSO page.
Okay.
Yep. So we do our view variables like we did before in the slides. I'm going to do selectable geographies because otherwise we don't have any geographies. I'm going to do population because that's where our variables are. I'm going to select search variables. Boop, there's everything. So just like we saw, I want to get the weight. So person weight, so I'm going to select that. I'm going to hit my control button so that I can select multiple geographies because I don't want all this stuff in here. I'm going to select selectable geographies, have my control button down, select it. Everything is in alphabetical order, so it's very easy to find our variables. And I just passed them. Here's the J's. So we want travel time to work, which is JWMNP. And then we also want means of transportation to work, which is our mode variable that Alan was interested in. And then, so I've done that, and you'll notice that my other variables are still highlighted at the top. I didn't lose anything. And then I press Browse, Select Highlighted Variables. It just says you've selected both geographic and non-geographic variables. Don't worry about that. Ignore it. Oh, it takes me to my geography screen. So I'm going to go ahead and select state. It doesn't matter which state option I pick. I'm just going to, because they lead you to the same place. I select that, hit next. You'll see that this box still stayed gray, because what I did, it just took me to the selection options for state. So I still have to select something over here. I'm going to pick California. Easy enough. You hit next. Now you'll see that California's been listed here. And then I can hit finish. So over in the back, you know, the kind of the back end of the system, it's putting my geography in place. Now, these are the variables I've selected because, again, there's that option of, like, travel time to work. Do I, or actually, no, means of transportation. Do I want all of these categories? Maybe you want it just for ferry boats. Maybe you want it just for car, truck, or van. I'm going to go ahead and select all variables. But if I only wanted certain categories, I'd hit this bold select ACS JWTR, which is our mode of transportation variable, and it would let me deselect certain categories. But I'm going to go ahead and say select all variables. I'm going to hit OK. It says I've added 2 variables to my data basket because weight's already kind of included. So I've done all that. Now, if I wanted to, if I'm like, oh no, I wanted to include this other variable, you still have the option to select other variables if you want. You don't have to, but you can. But I'm going to go ahead and go to my data basket, download, make a table. I could at this point, just like I did in the screen, start recoding my travel time to work since it's a really long variable and lots of categories. Ed, can you find out, Alan, do you want me to recode that, or you want me to just straight into DataFerrett with the 200 category travel time to work variable?
Michelle, why don't you make it in, you know, half-hour increments?
Okay.
Up to about 120.
Okay.
And then everything over 120 can be in one.
Sure. Okay. So what I have, you have the range here already. So I'm going to make that to 30 for a half hour. I'm going to hit recode. Got that. Now it's got changed from 31 to 200. So I want that to be 60. Recode. That to be 90. Recode. And then we have 120. And then I have the very last recode of 121 to 200. Okay. So those are all of our recodes. I'm going to leave this as it is, but I could change the label here, or I could change these labels here to make it whatever I wanted. I hit OK. You'll see my recode is here. And then I go make a table. This has some instructions about what to do. Highlight your variable on the right, drag it over. I highlight my geography variable, and I just drag it. And when I get to this R2C1 cell, I just let my mouse up. You'll see it populate. Go to my recode. I drag over, and when I get to this C2R1 cell, I let go of the mouse. See all the categories are there. Then I hit Go Get Data. And these are the number of people with this particular travel time to work. Total in California will be the same because I had selected just one geography. Yeah. And that's that. And then what you can do as well is you can select the entire spreadsheet and you can copy that into Excel if you're more comfortable manipulating or doing any kind of other categorizations or calculations in Excel. You can copy and paste it over into that very easily.
Okay, did anybody else want to see Michelle do a table, anything specifically?
I know it was fast, but all the
information... You can put it in the chat pod. Like one of the ones that I did for Nathan a long time ago, and I used the PUMS, which is the University of Minnesota system, which is similar to using DataFerrett, and I I only looked at bicycle commuters because in the ACS standard tables, bicycle is usually grouped with walk because of the sample size is so low. So by using the PUMS data set where the geography is very large and only available for pumas, you could look at bicycle commuters by themselves.
Yep.
Or, for example, in Seattle, we might want to look at the ferry riders.
And in that screen, when we're in our select variables and data baskets, in our means of transportation to work. So this is where we'd want to select certain categories. So you would just unselect whatever you didn't want, and those are the only categories that'll show up for any calculations you're doing in the spreadsheet part. And then you do OK.
Okay, I think we have a couple people typing into the chat pod, so let's see what they think they'd like to see.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was going to mention is that vehicle availability is a housing question, not a person question.
Yes.
So, for example, if you wanted to do vehicles available crossed by means of transportation to work, you do have to get both the housing variable and the person variable.
Yes, but the number of like riders in a vehicle, like 2 or more, 3 or more, those are all the pop variables.
And just to let you know, this is the operator. It looks like we do have a phone question in our queue.
Okay.
Bring it in.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open that up.
Hi, this is Alan. I was trying to get the point across that it's a crosstab I was interested in.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but so Alan, there's either using the standard ACS tabulations, which are the crosstabs, or you could use the PUMS, which is what Michelle did to make.
I thought you wanted to crosstab time.
She didn't do a crosstab.
Oh, you're right. I didn't do a crosstab. You're right. You're right.
And then the other question is, what if you're trying to crosstab a variable from the housing set with the population set?
They would all get, when you do your selection, they would all come up and you would just select them and they just all be there in one set.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I totally didn't do that. So I'm going to select my means of transportation, and I'm going to go ahead and make that my column heading. So I go to row 1, C2. I drop it there. Oh, this is the one with ferry, boat, and bicycle. But you'll get the idea. And then I do my recode for time. And I put that in C1, R2. And then I hit my go get data. And so that's the minutes to work, or the number of people with that minutes to work based on that mode.
Okay. Got it.
Sorry, Alan. Thank you for calling in.
Sure thing. By the way, this is now just for California, right?
This is just for California, just for those 2 categories. So if I went back and, you can also delete variables. But yeah, if you go into the geography, you can pick all the states. You can pick all the pumas. When you're doing PUMS, the lowest level is puma, but you can get all of them.
When you're selecting pumas, how do you know what piece of geography you're getting unless you have a map that tells you what number puma is what piece of geography?
Yes. So I don't have that information in this presentation, but the geography division works on those maps. And so what I can do is I can try to find a contact and get updated slides to Ed and Elaine that have that information on it. Because
okay, we'll make a FAQ from this webinar, and we'll include the link to the geography area of where the PUMA maps are.
Because it's not just pumas, it's block groups, it's counties, so they have the maps with that kind of information on it.
Okay, here's another mapping question. How do you merge the data from DataFerrett to a shapefile since there's no geographic ID? Well, there is a geography.
Yeah, there's a GeoID.
Well, I know, so this is Liang. I think you can download the data to either CSV file or SAS file. I use the SAS file, so the SAS data is coupled with the SAS code. So if you run the SAS code, you will get all the geo ID. And for the CSV or Excel file, I believe you need to download the code book, which is separate from the data. So Michelle, do you want to show how to download the data and also the code book? The variable code book.
Oh, for the PUMS?
For each of them. I think it's more for aggregated data.
I'm sorry, Liang, I don't quite understand. What do you want me to download?
So like for the summary file data, you can download the data like to CSV file instead of the making table in the step 2.
Yes.
So but you will have to download the variable code book separately, because the CSV file does not have the variable information, like which variable is what. So you will have to download the code book separately.
Yeah, and if you're doing for the PUMS, that is actually on the ACSO page what all of the variables are and the categories and codes with them. And I have those links are, I believe, on the last slide.
Okay, we have another request. So Arash is asking if you could show a three-way table from PUMS. How would it look?
Okay.
So if you had pumas in California by means of transportation by travel time, not California total.
Oh, by the actual pumas?
Okay,
so let me go back, and I am going to delete my geography code since all I had was California in there. I'm going to go back to my list here. For my geography, I'm going to browse and select the pumas, next, states, next, I want California, next, and you just keep hitting next until you get to the gray screen. I'll select all, next, and then finish. There we go, over to our databasket, make a table, Again, my preference is to put geographies around along the side. You can do what you like. Let's see. So, actually, I did that wrong. Let me do this instead. Means of transportation first, and then I want my travel time. Doesn't want to let me do a three-way table, but I can ask the Ferret people about that because I do think it's possible, but I think I have to verify.
Liang, have you done a three-way table in DataFerrett?
Yes, I think so.
Do you remember how to do it?
Well, the screen to me is too small. I barely see the screen. Let me click the full screen.
Elaine, let's put that in the Q&A that we develop afterwards.
Okay, so I think it does it too.
Yeah, I think it does it too. Hold on, let me see something really quick.
I think you just needed to drag and drop the variable names in C1, cell C1.
Yeah, so what it's doing is similar to what the ACS does, and so that the first variable has the multiple categories of the second variable, and then if you scroll over to the right, you'll see the next means of transportation to work with the travel time variable.
I just want to tell people what I did really quick. So what I did was I took the means of transportation, and I dragged it over to the C2R1, and then I took my recode for travel time to work, and I dropped it into the same cell.
Right.
C1R1.
You can drop two variables in C2 and drop one in C1.
Okay, so now can you scroll over?
So you'll see the total during the work with the means of or the time underneath, And then our next category, again, this is a ferry boat bicycle example, but then this is the travel times, and then the travel times for bicycle.
Yeah, so for some of you who have been familiar with the CTPP software, it's similar to the way that the Beyond 2020 software does with, you know, being able to move things as subheaders under variables and being able to move them around.
So, for example, for PUMA 00100, for people who take ferry boats, doesn't look like there's actually anybody in there classified who took ferry boats. It's not until we get to this PUMA that we start to get any particular travel times, and that they were over an hour and a half.
Michelle, I think you still can't see the chat pod, so you're not
Nope.
asking questions.
Nope.
I think it just got answered. We did have a question about when using the download option as opposed to the make a table,
Uh-huh.
a way to have the variable labels come through.
When you do a download, you know, you have the option. I'm going to go ahead and do the space delimited. It comes up here, some examples. I'm not sure, I haven't seen that problem with labels not coming through, so I just want to double check this.
Well, so Michelle, if you go back to step 1,
Mm-hmm.
so there's the option Save Selected Variables Codebook. So you can, if you hit that button, you can save the codebook in your local directory.
Oh, and also over here, there's the save selected.
Right, that's the option.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you will have to like merge this codebook with your variables like manually. So what I like to do is like I like downloading in the SAS format because they have the SAS code. So you only need to run the SAS code. So you will have the SAS data format with all variables information. So I feel that's more convenient.
Yeah, well, Liang, I think you're one of the few people that has SAS. I think a lot of MPO people don't have SAS available to them.
Okay. Yeah, then you will have to download the codebook and manually match. That's not efficient.
Yeah, it's not as efficient, no. But that's something that we haven't necessarily addressed internally. So that's something that I can bring to the FERRETT people about the issue of having to manually match especially the PUMS variables to the code book. That's something that has not come up that I'm aware of from different users, so I'll bring that to their attention. Is there an easier way to do that?
Okay, we have another question in the chat pod. Is there any way to import or export DataFerrett queries? Like AFF2 in the, you're going to show us how to save a query?
Yeah, that is also something we are actually actively working on. Also, one of the things we're working on is how to save recodes. So you saw that recode I did. If you're doing anything with like industry and occupation, all the numerous codes that are associated with that, once you make your recode and you leave the session, you lose that recode. You have to start over again. So that is something that's come up about being able to save recodes.
Yeah, that's really important, and that is available in the IPUMS, which I mentioned earlier, and that is one thing that I like.
Yeah, and it's not something that's been part of FERRETT, but we have started a DataFerrett user group, so both internally and then there's going to start reaching out. I'm not sure when, but they're going to start reaching out more publicly to get feedback on improving FERRETT, especially the usability section, especially the repeated users.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of interest in using DataFerrett. But just as a reminder, we did do a training webinar on IPUMS, I think 2 years ago, and that is available on the CTPP website on AASHTO's ctpp.transportation.org.
IPPUMS, I think IPPUMS does have some advances, definitely over FERRETT. There is a lot of power to FERRETT, but yeah, there is some of the usability and the extra work you have to do. So we are working on that internally, though, to improve that experience.
Okay, Michelle, shall we get ready to move to FactFinder 2 and have Elaine bring up her last quiz?
Sure.
Okay, it's a hard one, everybody.
Do you want me to stop sharing, Ed?
You can.
Okay, Mid-America Regional Council. When downloading PUMS, are we getting the individual records or just the tables?
Oh, you're getting individual records.
Huh?
You're getting the individual records with the PUMS.
But when you make a table, and then you do the download?
Oh, well, when you're making the table, you're basically doing the manipulation where you're crossing things by geography there. But it's using the individual records.
Right.
So it's not like you're going to be able to get somebody's string of data. That we wouldn't let you do. But what you can do is do your own kinds of recodes or get the particular categories you're interested in using the individual records for those large geographies. But it's not like you can know that we'll give you like, here's this person and their citizenship, their plumbing, in the house, number of bathrooms, their income. We wouldn't give you that string of data. It's still, you're going to be getting summarized data at the end. So sorry if I misunderstood your question, Mid-America.
Okay, I'm going to make the chat pod, bring it back down smaller so we can make your slides bigger on the screen, Michelle, and we probably should get going.
Yep.
Okay, and congratulations, Kevin. And you also win a $10 Starbucks card.
The question, Elaine.
Okay. I'm going to go through these slides pretty quickly, actually. Some of you have been through the American FactFinder training I gave in October, or you listened to it online. Also, hopefully, since American FactFinder, the newest one, went live in September, most of you had an opportunity to at least play with it a little bit, so hopefully none of this is entirely new.
Michelle, I'm going to interrupt real quick because
Sure.
This is a quick follow-up. Mid-America Regional Council, and I just wanted to verify this, they're after individual PUMS records to do their own regressions and whatnot. They
Okay.
get that through FERRETT. They would go to the download area?
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah, so that would be through the download. If you're making a table, then you're not going to get it's those records crossed by, for the geography. But yeah, if you go into the download, you should get the information for the variables you've selected. So if you've picked only some journey to work variables, then that's all you're going to get in the download. So if you want the full record for a geography, you'll have to select all of the variables.
Okay, so also the IPPUMS does allow you to do regression and logit online. So you might be interested in trying out IPPUMS. It's very easy.
Yeah, I've used IPPUMS before.
That's only PUMS, and because we have another similar question about websites available to access the data inside DataFerrett, and it's really only the PUMS data that you can access all the individual records for.
Correct.
So.
And that's for disclosure.
Correct.
And that's why the geographies are so large.
And let's make it clear that in the PUMS, it's a sample. That's what the S is for. It's a microdata sample. So it's a sample of the ACS sample.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry, Michelle.
Nope. No, it's good. I do recommend, we didn't go into a lot. I do recommend looking at some of the tutorials. And then also there are links at the back that are specifically for PUMS. And I recommend that people, in the back page of the presentation, that people go look at those because there is a lot of information. And when you're using the PUMS, you want to make sure you're educated about it because you can do a lot of manipulations. And we want to make sure that nobody's, kind of mistaking what they're doing. So looking at American FactFinder, this is our web-based data dissemination tool for the Bureau. This is, kind of our main way of getting data out to the public. We just went live with this newest one this year, and hopefully it'll get you familiar with some of the basic features as we go through the presentation. I'm going to show you specifically kind of how to search for tables in geography, save and download the results that you get, save and load queries, and also map your estimates. So there are two main ways to search. There's the quick start and the topics. They will return slightly different results depending on which you use or what criteria you put in. So it's just important to know that there are differences between the two search options. When you go to the main AFF page, this is what you'll see. In the very middle screen is what we call the quick start search. This is where you can find a specific table for a particular geography. You can also enter a topic, and it gives you the largest search results and covers lots of programs, lots of data sets. So if you know what table you're looking for, like if you know you want B08301 and you want it for Seattle, you can put that into this quick start in the table lookup and then the geography, and it'll pull up the table for that geography. So again, quick start, quick way to get results if you know what you're looking for. So you can look up a table ID, the topic, or geography. You enter the information, and what you can do is, I went ahead and entered commuting in Chicago, Illinois as my topic in geography, and it's going to show our results in a particular order. So the search terms I put in, commuting, and then our geography of Chicago, Illinois, those become what they call in AFF language your selections. And these are saved until you clear them out. Now you don't have to enter geography to get results, but if you are looking for someplace in particular, it's good to go ahead and put it in, since it defaults to the United States. Your search results, those will come up in the middle of the screen. The summary products, what we call our data profiles, comparison profiles, and subject tables, these are products that are not as detailed. They have a little more general characteristics. They also have things like percents and means and medians and ratios. They'll appear at the top of the list if you enter just the topic. The data set column, that's going to tell you the year, the data set that you're looking at. So remember, we have lots of releases with any given year. So depending on what you're looking for, you want to make sure that you're looking at this data set column to make sure you're selecting the right data set. You can change the number of search results that you see per page. It maxes out right now at 75. We are seeing if they can up that, though, soon. And then you can select multiple tables by checking the boxes that are next to the table IDs. Or if you want just one table, just click the hyperlink. And this is a common screen regardless of how you search. Now in terms of how the search results come up, AFF uses what are called relevancy rankings. And so these are a combination of factors to determine what's returned in your search and the order. They include exact searches, so I put in commuting. So any table that had commuting in the title would have come up kind of at the top of my search results. It also includes what are called fuzzy matches. So most of our tables don't have commuting in the title. They have transportation. So that's considered a fuzzy match to commuting. So whichever one you put in to your search options, any tables that kind of were close to that would come up. So when you're searching by topic, the data profiles and the subject tables are given a higher priority because they offer the broadest content. And important to know too is that the number of times a term appears in a table can move that table to the top of the results list. So let's say you are looking for a table on disability and disability by transportation. It may be that that table gets buried at the bottom because disability isn't in the table quite as much as it is in the citizenship table or in well, that's a bad example, but, or as much as it's in the education table. It could be that because the term, whatever table the term shows up in the most, that'll pop it up to the top of the list. So it's just important to know that just because you don't see something in that first set of results doesn't mean the table isn't there. You can enter multiple search terms in that quick start box. The system will search through all the table titles and text for each individual term, and then it'll look up the terms in combination. So you will get multiple results. You'll get results that have, if you put in multiple search terms, you'll get the tables at the top are going to be the ones that have both terms, but then after that are going to be all the tables that have them individually. So one of the things with AFF is that you're getting a lot of results, and sometimes it's a little too much. So it's important to understand how the system works and how it's actually looking through the tables in order to find the topics you're looking for. You can also use Quick Start to put in a particular table ID or to get a collection of tables. If you want to get a list just of tables for a topic quickly, you can use the wildcard symbol. That's an asterisk. So when you're doing that, it'll return all tables for a topic. If you enter each topic ID and the wildcard, then only tables matching that search term are returned. So for example, what I did here was I wanted to get all the commuting detail tables, which are the B and C tables, and then I also wanted to get the subject tables for Seattle. So what I did was I entered a B08 asterisk, that's to get all the commuting B tables, a C08 with an asterisk, get all the collapse tables, and an S08 to get all the subject tables. And then I put in my geography, and when I hit go, then all the tables appear on in my search results. And so I'm not sure how well you can see this, but the subject tables, again, that broadest content, come up first. Then it's the B tables, and then it's the C tables. And if you want the corresponding B and C tables to be next to each other, you can click on title, and it'll interweave them in the search results. And then now the B and C tables are together. This is useful because not all tables appear for all geography. So if you're looking for a particular table and you're not sure where it is, you know it's a C table, you don't have to scroll all the way down to the end in order to find it. So this is a better way to approach it. Now what we'll do is we'll start looking at how to search by topic. This will get you slightly different results. But depending on if you're not quite sure what you're looking for, if you're looking for kind of a broader set of information, then this might be the best way to go. So you use this left-hand side navigation, and we want to click on Topics for our topic search. It does operate very similarly to the legacy American FactFinder, so if you're used to that, this might be the best way to go. Through the topic search, you search by topic, you search by survey year, you can search by product type, program, and data set. And for each topic, there's going to be a drop-down menu that comes under that plus sign. And then these are the critical topics for ACS. The people topic has all of our population topics. Housing has the housing topics. So like Elaine said, if you want vehicles available, that's under the housing topic under AFF. Year is survey year. Product type, is it a detail table? Is it a subject table? Is it a data profile? Program, again, AFF has lots of different data sets and surveys in it, much like FERRETT. So potentially want to narrow it down that way. And then data set has your 1, 3, and 5-year data. So once you've selected a topic, you'll see that there is a list of subtopics and the number of tables that are available for that subtopic. And remember, you're just looking at the subtopics. You haven't actually started selecting anything yet. You can tell that because Your Selections box says Your Selections is empty. So it's not until you really start kind of clicking on some of this and clicking on some of the tables and under the topics that you're really going to start to narrow down your search results. The commuting data is a subtopic under the employment topic that's under people. So in order to find the commuting information, you go to people, go to employment, and then select commuting. So I went ahead and I clicked commuting. That was under employment, and that is transferred up to my selections tab or selections box. It's up at the left-hand corner. And then any tables associated with commuting, those are displayed in the search results. Again, with those broadest profile topics or profile tables first. Now you can start to narrow your search results a little bit more, and that's using the search within results box. It's just a little type-in box that's underneath your selections. You can enter a search term like a topic, or you can enter a table ID. So it works a little bit like what's kind of what's in the regular quick start. So it's kind of a combination. So when I select, so I enter women, and then I select go, and that's moved into my selections box. And then what it does is any tables with sex as a dimension that are commuting tables, those come to the top of the search results. Now, if you keep refining and say, like, you keep adding topics, or you keep adding topics, or you add table IDs that don't exist, you'll get a no results found message. So these are our tables that get returned. So when you're searching for a table, remember this is the closest to the legacy system, so you just might be more comfortable with it. Something that's very different about the new AFF compared to the old AFF is how you find geography. The default geography is nation whenever you're looking at topic, or if you haven't entered a geography into your regular quick start. So if you want anything other than that, then you have to use the geographies tab. You do that by using the left-hand navigation. It's that geographies tab. It's right under the topics tab. And something to note is that you can use the quick start, topics, and geography selections all in concert. You can use them individually. You can use them together. So it gives you a lot of power, but it also gives opportunities to narrow your research results so much that you get no data. So it's, again, kind of going back, it's important to kind of understand how the system works so that you're getting the results you're actually interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and click that geographies tab. And then another window pops up that shows the different geographies that are available, or the options that are available. You can search by name of a geography. You can search by summary level. You can search by address. You can search by a point on a map. So kind of what Alan was saying before, if you know where on the map your geography is, you can use that. You can select from the map tab in order to see it. It takes a little while. It's a little slow, but you can do that. There's a text box available where you can enter the name of a geography. So again, I've been doing examples of DC or Seattle or Chicago or San Francisco. You can put those in, and that'll bring the geographies up for you. You can select by different filter options. You can select by geographic type, summary level, summary levels within a particular state, geocomponent. So there's a variety of things you can use to select the particular geography. If you're looking and you can't find a geography, what you want to make sure is that the Show All Summary Levels radio button is selected, because by default only the most popular geographic types are displayed. One of the nice things that I think they did very, very well for the new American FactFinder is that if you want all counties in a state, or when we get to the 5-year, if you want all tracts in a state or all block groups in a county, there is a way to easily do that in American FactFinder that or I don't think was necessarily there in the old FactFinder. It's not as easy to use anyway. Okay. So for illustrations, what I did is I selected county as a summary level, as my geographic type, and then a lot more options become available. So these weren't there on our previous screen. It's only when you really select the geographic type that more options come up. The within option is really helpful in retrieving large sets of geographies, especially if you want the same type all at once. You can also select individual geographies by clicking the hyperlink. But if you want multiple geographies, you'll need to check the box. So if I wanted all counties in the US, I could just click that hyperlink, and that's the geography selection that whatever I went from there would be applied to. I want just a subset of geographies, so I selected all counties in Florida, Georgia, and Hawaii. I clicked the checkbox next to those, and then I select Add. And that'll be added to my selections box on that main page we've been working from. Also, if, again, you're not seeing the geographies you're interested in, it could be that they're on a different page. So just like with the search results, you can change the number of results that appear per page. Okay, so if we look, we're back on the main page now, and you'll see that my commuting topic is still selected, women as my subtopic selected, and then the 3 geographies I had chosen, counties within Florida, Georgia, and Hawaii, those are all in my Your Selections tab. So any products that exist for that combination, those are going to show up in the middle of my search page. It is important to understand some of the search issues that you might run up against. It's a huge amount of data that you have to sift through, and there are lots of ways to find it and also lots of ways to not find it. Some of the biggest issues are really adding too many search terms at once. Also having too few search terms, you're just going to get a lot of information you need to wade through, and that can be frustrating. You can select combinations of information that don't exist, so if you keep adding topic after topic after topic and there's nothing that qualifies, you won't get any results. Also something not clearing out your old results. So over here in our selections, if I had gone through and I'd selected my table, now I'm coming back here and like, okay, great, I've got that table I wanted. And then I start putting in new search terms. If I haven't cleared out my old selections, it's just going to keep adding to those. And it could be that I'm trying to look at a completely different topic now. So that's something important too, is to see, did you clear out your old selections before you moved on? Now I'm going to talk about retrieving and downloading tables. Once you've selected your topic or table or in geography, you have several options to retrieve your tables. If you want just one table from the list, you can just hit the hyperlink and it'll come up. If you want more tables than that, you can just hit the check mark next to the tables, and then you can select either view to view the tables or download the tables into a zip file. Download is appropriate when you really have a large combination of tables and geographies. So if you select download, another window is going to pop up for you to start the download, and you have the option to save the file as a zip file or to open the file. So I decided to, well, this is what the zip file structure looks like. I decided to just go ahead and save it onto my computer. There are 3 types of files. One is a CSV file, and so I had selected 3 tables. So this is a CSV file for each individual table. This has the table estimates in it, the margins of error, the category labels, and the geographies. Now, the table title and universe are not part of the download. Our understanding of how people are using the download files is they really want a lot of data. They already know what the table is they want. They already know the universe. They're really looking to do a big abstract and then do some big manipulations down the road. There's also a text file for each table, and this has any table notes associated with it. And then there's a README file that just has some information about the download. And the file names follow a set structure. So you'll see that it has the survey title, which is ACS. It has the data year, which is 10 for 2010. It has the data set, which is 5 years, because that's what I had selected. And then it has the table ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open table B08006, at sex of workers by means of transportation to work. So when I open that, the way my system's set up, it opens in Excel, since it's a CSV file. And then this is what the file looks like. So what you have is the GeoID. This is where GeoIDs come in. The GeoID and the geography name are displayed in the first column. The category labels make up the first few rows. And you'll notice that they repeat, once for the estimate and once for the margin of error. Now, the category labels maintain the hierarchy you would see in the actual table on AFF. So this table shows the totals first. So it's a total with the estimated margin and error. And then it shows it for each transportation method. So total, this is car, truck, van. Again, estimate margin of error. And then it shows it for total car, truck, van, drove alone. Then total car, truck, or van, carpooled, and so on. So it'll look at it both for the total, and then it'll go for males, and then it'll show it for females. So this is a very wide table, but it does have all of the information in it that would be in the main table, all in one spreadsheet, as opposed to having to click and have multiple spreadsheets and then try to concatenate those together. If you were to select to view your tables, there are more options to manipulate the table presentation as well as download. So I'm going to go ahead and view. And then from a table view, you can modify the table, you can bookmark the table and share the hyperlink with others, you can save your query, you can print the table, you can download the table as a CSV or PDF or Excel or rich text file. These functions operate on the table currently in the view. So I selected 3 tables. If I wanted to do any manipulations or see the other tables, I would have to use these arrows up at the top to go between the tables. There is a limit to the download size, so if you were to download from here, the product limit is 10 tables and the geography limit is 10,000, just so you know. And the total row limit is 500,000 rows. And then if you select the View All, that creates a presentation-ready PDF for up to 3 tables at a time. So right now we're at the point where you have the tables and geographies you're interested in examining. If you want to save the work that you put into finding your tables, you can use the bookmark link. So that's one of those options or actions you can take to modify the table. Bookmarking offers you 2 choices for retrieving your results. You can bookmark the web page or you can save the search query. So you select, I want to bookmark. This is the pop-up window that shows up. You can create bookmark or save query, like I said. Bookmark works as it would for any web page. So an address is created for the results that you can view later or share. The tables and topics are not displayed, just the results. So I'm going to create bookmark. Just like creating any bookmark, here's your address that comes up. Do make sure to uncheck the load this bookmark in the sidebar. It's very ugly, it's very messy, just don't do it. Just make sure that's unchecked. I'm not sure why that's checked as a default. And then if you have multiple tables, you need to create a bookmark for each table. If you want to save your query, you'll get very similar results. It's just a different method of saving the information. So we're going to save query. Another pop-up shows up, asks you where you want to save the file to, or if you want to open it. Make sure to select Save File, and then press OK. And then in order to use a save, and then your query gets saved to your system. In order to use a saved query, you go to the main AFF page. That's back where we were when you go to the main. On the bottom left is an option to load the query right here. So you want to go to main. You want to go to load query. And then it's going to ask you where. Where is this query saved at? All query files end with AFF, so it's a .AFF, and they have the same structure as the zip files that we saw earlier. You can select Browse in order to get to the location of the file, and then we select OK, and then it brings up the tables, just like we saw. We get the same results. So just like with bookmarks, if you have multiple tables, you need to save a query for each table. And just like bookmarks, you can share queries. So you can save that file, that .aff query file, to your machine. You can email it to somebody. And then if they take that file and use the load query option, they'll get those same results. So something that's kind of interesting too about this is that when you're doing either a bookmark or a saved query, your table IDs or your topic IDs, anything of those you put in, those aren't saved into your selections. But all of the geographies that were used to create the query are saved on the main page. So if it's really something about the geography that you're interested in and you want to be able to look at other tables or look at other topics for those geographies, those are maintained when you either load a bookmark or whether you load a saved query. And I know we're running out of time, but I really wanted to show you very quickly about mapping. Mapping can be done with any estimate now. In the old AFF, there was only certain estimates that were really allowed to be put into what we called thematic maps. Now pretty much anything in the AFF can be made into a map. We recommend that you primarily use summary products since they already have percents, means, medians, ratios. Those are a little easier to map than straight-up estimates that have millions of people in them. You can also manipulate how the maps look now much better than you could in the old AFF. So I went through and I have my geographies, I have my commuting, I have my subtopic just like before. And what I'm going to select is the economic profile, DPO3. This is what has the commuting characteristics in it, and this is what has percents and what has like mean travel time. That's what's in there too. And this is going to have all the counties with percents already calculated for means of transportation for me. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, or I can select View. Since I'm just selecting one table, it doesn't really matter. When I get to the results screen for the table, I select the Create a Map link from the table options. What this does is it makes all of the estimates clickable. So you notice that now all of the numbers become hyperlinks, both the estimates and the margins of error. I scroll down to the commuting section, and I select the percent that are using public transportation. So I just went into percent public transportation, and I clicked on it. And then it makes this map. So here's the Georgia and Florida map, 4% taking public transportation. On the left are the default classes. So this is the numbers and number of types of categories and the colors. From the colors and data classes box, it's a tab on the left. You can make the colors more or less transparent. You can change the number of classes, and you can modify the classing method. So I think right now it's set up as natural breaks for the classing method. You can make it equal intervals, quantiles. You can also do a user-defined. And the map screen has the same functions that we saw on other screens. You can bookmark the page, you can print it, or you can download it. And you can download the map as a PDF, a JPEG, or rich text format in Word. These are the various AFF resources and links that are available. Again, these are all in the presentation. These are the PUMS. And then if you have any questions for me or the ACS staff, here's our contact information.
Thanks, Michelle. I think
Woo! I flew through that, man. I'm sorry, people. We need to make this 2 presentations next time.
Well, and I wanted to mention, I posted the link to the webinar that we did on AFF, and in that webinar, and the slides are posted that you used for that webinar, and they were pretty detailed as far as going through step by step by step and
yes.
tutorial and.
And they are for this too. So for those of you for this presentation, I know I flew through very quickly, but everything I talked about or would have talked about are all detailed both in the slides and in the notes section.
And yeah, I wanted to say when Michelle does slides, she puts a lot of notes to them, so they're pretty comprehensive. What we'll do is we'll have you share and go through. It'll have to be pretty quick because we're running out of time. Just some live AFF2, and I'm thinking there's two different queries you could do. One could be to go after average travel time.
Yep.
Collection of geographies.
Sure.
I know Nathan was on the webinar. He might still be there, and he had that question this morning.
Sure.
And then the other thing is we had a question about getting age by race, but for all the races together.
What do you mean by all the races together?
Well,
So this is a question from Emily Everett, and I think what she means is right now there's different tables with the suffix A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and
Oh, yeah.
And is there any table that has some of that combined when it's only crossed by age?
There isn't. It's just those tables. Unless she wants to use the PUMS. And in PUMS, she could do that. There's the race category, and then there's the age category, and then she could do that. She can make her own computation in DataFerrett using PUMS. So that's one way to do that. But there are no products right now that have that that have them all together by age.
Okay, and the other question was from Mid-America Regional Council, and they wanted to see how to pick, for example, if you have two counties but they're in different states, and you wanted to pick all tracks in both of those counties. Could you show that in AFF?
Sure. In fact, I can combine both Nathan's questions about mean travel time and that. Okay. So for Nathan, I'm going to go.
Also, just for your information, Nathan had to leave half an hour ago.
Oh no. Okay.
But it'll be recorded, so he can listen to it later.
Sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to we're going to pick our table first. We're going to go to topics. Okay. So we're going to topics. We're going to go to people because our people tab is where our commuting information is. We're going to go to our employment tab because that's where our commuting information is. And then we're going to go to commuting, journey to work. So any table that has commuting or journey to work, that's what's going to pop up in our search results. I actually want the mean travel time, and that is actually a summary statistic that's already computed for you in the economic data profile, which is DPO3. I can pick the 1 year, the 3 year, or the 5 year. It doesn't really matter for this example. Just depends on what data set you're interested in. I'm going to pick 5 years since the example for geography wants tracks. So I'm going to select that. Actually, I'm not going to select that quite yet. Hold on. I can select that, but first I'm going to go ahead and select our geography. So we scroll down to our geography tab. Remember, if you haven't selected geographies yet, the default is the US, so I just have to go back. I'd have to go back and select my geographies, and so it's easier actually to select your geographies first. So they wanted all the tracks within 2 different counties, correct? Is that right, Elaine?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to select tract as my geographic type. Because it's kind of like Ferret, like that's my base one that I want. I'm going to select within state because I want it within particular counties within a state. So I will select. We'll do California again. I'm not sure if they care, but as you can see, what comes up is options: all census tracts within California, all census tracts within particular counties. I'll pick Butte County, so I just check mark that, and then I select Add. Now I'm going to do the same thing where I go. I'm going to go within county. I'm gonna clear out my California. That's what's tripping this up. I don't want California anymore. I want another state with tracks in it. So now I'm gonna go to within state. See that shows up as an option again. Takes a little bit. And then I'm going to pick Mississippi as my state. And then you'll see on the side it comes up with the census tracts for various counties in Mississippi. I'll pick Chickasaw. And I go up here and select Add again. Then I'm going to close this.
So you could even pick mixed geographies. You could pick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can click all over the place. Where you can't click so effectively is when you're looking at different topics or different table IDs. That's where it gets a little more tricky in terms of doing combinations. Geography, you select any combination at all. It's just it's the tables where it gets more messy. So now we can go ahead and we can select our selected economic characteristics DPO3. And because I only wanted one table, I can just hit the hyperlink. And then, so here's all your geographies with your estimate, margin of error, percent margin of error. For the track, goes California first. And if you kept going, it would hit, you would hit in the Mississippi. For what Nathan was interested in, the commuting data is down here, and mean travel time to work is right here in this column. I'm sorry, in this row. So it's already calculated for you.
Did it used to be in a subject table?
It is in the subject table as well, but it's always been in the profile too. It's been in both spots. And the subject table you're thinking of, which is actually a great subject table, I really like it. It's by the different means of transportation.
Right.
Then it has the mean travel time for each of those modes. For this table, what it is, it's the mean travel time for that geography, regardless for all modes together.
Correct.
So if you care about mode and mean travel time, then you do need to go to the subject table. If you just care about travel time for geography, then the profile, the economic data profile is the best way to go.
Okay, Ed. So don't hang up, people. Stay on. But we do want to get you to do some of the evaluations for our session, but we will stay on the phone call and stay in the room. So if you have another question, you can, after you do the evaluation questions, we'll go back to AFF and DataFerrett for additional questions, and we'll just stay on for another few minutes afterwards.
Yeah,
but please answer these poll evaluations.
The chat pod is bigger, and the things to download is a little bigger, and you can see it. Someone had asked about, can we send a copy of the PowerPoint presentations? What they can do is just download them from the things to download area. Again, you just click on something, you highlight it, you click Save to My Computer, and then you might have to go look behind everything you have open, because sometimes where it tells you, and asks you where do you want to save, it gets hidden. But we'll leave this room open, and you can, download to your heart's content. And actually, once you're logged in here, you can be in here even if all the hosts do leave the room.
And there's also a question about exporting maps, and yes, you can save them, you can download them, you can manipulate them just like any other results that you look at. PDF, Word documents, rich text, whatever. It's very retrievable post-access to AFF.
So there's about 8 evaluation questions, and to scroll to the next question, you just use the arrows on the bottom left-hand side. And we really appreciate your feedback.
You click the dot and hit Submit, and it'll advance. Elaine?
Yes.
Yes?
And I had a thought earlier when Michelle was going through some of her other slides. We've done FactFinder, we've done Ferret. We might think of some webinars on some of the other download, or we'll call them extraction tools. I know there's the spreadsheet. I call it the spreadsheet downloader that I've used quite a bit.
Yeah, we call it the extraction tool.
Extraction tool to get block level data.
Yep.
And there's, some others, and, maybe we should think about, if there's need covering some of those also.
And I wonder if you want somebody, it wouldn't be me, it'd be somebody from ACSO, but to cover PUMS. Have you had anybody do like a PUMS demo?
Yes, 2 years ago.
Okay. I wonder if a refresher would be good.
It's archived.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think Missouri State Census Data Program and the Summary File 1 extractor, is that what you're calling it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's like the PUMS itself too, like how it works, how it's constructed, things to be aware of. But you guys have already done that a couple years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is Talari, the operator. Did you, the speakers want to be placed in a post-conference, or would you prefer just to stay in the main conference
We'll stay in the main conference, and you can open the lines if folks have questions that they want to just, we can make this pretty informal now.
Okay, and if anyone has a phone question, just simply hit the star key followed by the digit 1 on your telephone. And once again, you will hear a tone indicating you have been placed in queue, and a voice prompt on your phone line will indicate your line has been opened.
Or if you can probably just open all the lines.
Actually, on this piece of equipment, I'm unable to do that. They'll need to hit star 1.
Okay.
Okay, so as a reminder, Ed mentioned the things in the file download pod, and we've made some little cheat sheets, one for AFF2 and one for DataFerrett. And I'd like to thank Ed and Leong for helping me with that, and also Linda Clark from the Seattle Regional Office who helped make those cheat sheets. So, you have Michelle's long PowerPoint information, but if you just want a quick reminder, you can look at these cheat sheets.
Michelle, can you see the chat pod now?
Yeah.
Can you see Mary's question?
I can. You mean, so what I'm reading as is that spelling out Kentucky as opposed to just saying like KY?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because of the way the search works in it, they don't have state abbreviations. In fact, one of the things that we're running into is that people who are looking for data in Oregon are putting in the OR, and it's causing problems. So it's best, at this point, it's best just to spell it out, because state abbreviations just aren't part of the search yet. But what you can do is do the, depending on if you're looking for more than one county, using the geography tab, and then you're going through the left-hand side to kind of navigate through your searches, but you can easily click, because it'll say, all of the blocks in Boone County will be. Oh, actually no, the block groups aren't part of AFF. So if you want anything below tract, you have to use DataFerrett or the extraction tool that we were talking about a minute ago, if you want ACS data.
Yeah, you almost tripped up like I've tripped up, going back looking for block.
You can get block groups in AFF for decennial, yes, but not for ACS. So it has the characteristic data, and for ACS, decided that that should not be on AFF. That needs to be on the summary file.
Michelle, another thing I think we need to emphasize is there is that link to click on for feedback when you're in FactFinder too, because I know we get a lot of issues with different things that pop up with FactFinder too, and need to encourage people to give their feedback, positive or negative.
Yeah, definitely, and that feedback has actually been very instrumental in upcoming changes to AFF. People have listened, and so over the next, about every quarter over the next probably couple of years, there'll be improvements that are going to be rolled out. So there's an improvement coming out. I'm glad you mentioned that, Ed. There's an improvement coming out scheduled for the end of April for the geography tab that actually should make it a lot easier to get the geographies that you want. It'll be, instead of having to click, it'll be more of a scrollable list. It actually looks very similar to the old FactFinder geography selection. And so, the feedback is being heard, and they are trying to make improvements to make sure that the user experience is a little more positive than what it has been based on the feedback that's come in.
Okay, so I think we're going to end now and turn off the recording. And I think a lot of people have left the room because we've gone over, and we thank everybody for staying with us in this 2-hour and 10-minute webinar, and that covered a lot of material, and Michelle did a really great job. And we will have an FAQ summarized sheet that we will distribute on the CTPP listserv. So if there are no other questions on the phone, we are going to end the session.
We have no further questions on the phone.
Thanks for having me, Elaine. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ed.
Okay.
Are we all clicking off, or are we going to talk afterwards?
And everyone, that does conclude our conference call for today. Thank you all for your participation and for using AT&T teleconference service. You may now disconnect.